You are tuned in to the Denko Gridiron Show podcast. Thank you so much for being a part of this one. On this episode, we've got defensive coordinator Shane Tolleson joining us from the Denton Ryan Raiders, as well as defensive coordinator Reed Heim from the Geyer Wildcats. This show is brought to you by our friends at Marty B's Place, BudBartleyHomes.com, Cloud Realty. You can find them at txcloudrealty.com. Grayson Nolette, how you doing?
Welcome in, John. I'm feeling great right now. Glad to be back on the air. Glad to be back here in the studio.
Man, I think this is our third evening edition. You know, the first couple seasons we did all the shows at 8 o'clock on Wednesday nights. We moved to noon on Wednesdays, and with the playoffs and everything that's going on, first week back, we thought we'd do an evening edition. Got a couple live guests join us, so stay tuned for that. Defensive coordinators, both for Denton Ryan and Denton Geyer, join us here in just a few minutes. But wow, you were talking earlier. I think since 1962, the only school district that has two teams still left headed to the state semifinals.
I know, totally blessed for the fact that Den Geyer and Den Ryan just remain the only two schools still in the playoffs, the only school district that has that honor. It's just been such a blast to watch these schools compete over the last couple of weeks. You know, we took our break for the holidays last week, let these teams get a couple of games in. I mean, tons of highlights, tons of action. And I mean, I don't know if either one of us was 100% sure if both schools would still be here after 2 more weeks of playoffs, but yet here they are, and it's fantastic to see.
Yeah, good stuff. But hey, before we get too far into it, let's hear from one of our supporters all season long. I know a great fan of the show, and a lot of folks that tune in love to head down to Marty B's. So let's hear a little something from our friends at Marty B's. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Marty, I've always enjoyed the range of menu items, whether you want to go in there for just an appetizer or a full entree. Talk to us a little bit about the selection there at Marty B's.
Yeah, thank you, John. The menu was uniquely crafted with a couple things in mind, and one thing I'm most proud of is that all of our meats are hormone-free, antibiotic-free, humanely raised, and fed an all-natural diet. So it truly makes a difference in the quality and of the flavor of the food. For example, we're primarily barbecue is what we serve the largest amount of, and so all of our Tex-Mex options have smoked meats that we use to prepare those items. And then we have one of the best hamburgers you'll ever put your mouth around. All of our beef comes from 44 Farms down in Cameron, Texas. We cut our New York strip, our filet, and our ribeye in-house, and then all of the trimmings from that we fresh ground into our hamburger patty. And then we have our buns fresh baked from a bakery down in Houston. Unbelievable burger. And then, of course, the steaks speak for themselves, some of the best steaks you'll ever eat. So our menu is wide in range, but narrow in that it's just super focused on quality. So come out and enjoy salads, steaks, tacos, burgers. We have it all.
Marty, anytime we have friends or family come in from out of town, we always take them to Marty B's Place because it's such a great Texas experience, and everybody just loves it. So thank you so much for being part of the Denko Gridiron Show.
John, why don't we go ahead and just jump right into what's been going on the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, this talk some football, and right here in Denton County, man, two of the best teams left in the state of Texas are still alive. Hey, shout out to the Argyle Eagles. We did their recap a few weeks ago, state champion. Wouldn't that be special if 3 of the 9 teams we cover are state champions?
I was just talking about that with a couple of people who listen to the show, and they're like, man, you guys still got Ryan and Geyer to talk about. I'm like, dude, tell me about it. If we had, I mean, think about it. If
we're getting amped up a little bit.
If 3 of the 9 teams, I mean, we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but if 3 of our 9 teams that we cover were somehow able to win state, I mean, that's a third of our schools that we cover here, possibly being in the running for that. That's so amazing. So Geyer,
really special.
Starting off with the Wildcats, just kind of in terms of what's been going on with them since we were last on the air. The last time that we talked about Geyer, they were going into their regional matchup against the Abilene Eagles. So that was 2 weeks ago at this point, John. And they ended up obviously coming out on top in that matchup against the Eagles. 38-21 was the final score. And, we've been talking about how Eli Stowers seems like he's really shifted his focus to the ground game. Well, in that win against Abilene, he really showed his arm off through the air. He threw for 245 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and still put over 100 rushing yards on the ground.
Yeah, that was at Globe Life Park, and being part of the Geyer radio crew, I had a chance to be up close and personal to that one. And I'll tell you what, Eli Stowers is really, his senior leadership is really coming through. I mean, he is really doing a lot of things, a lot of X factor for the Geyer Wildcats, and he just keeps finding ways to win. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but really special in that 3 overtime win as well.
Yeah, and just in that Abilene matchup, like I said, over 240 yards passing, 4 passing touchdowns, over 100 yards rushing. Tyon Aldridge through the ground had about 50 yards rushing and a touchdown. And it was 3 different receivers who caught touchdown passes in that Abilene win as well for the Wildcats. Jace Wilson, Brody Noble, and Bryson Riggs all snagged themselves a touchdown catch. And, of course, that Geyer defense was dominant as well.
Yeah, on that receiving core, Geyer has not had to go to the air a lot this season. The receiving core is new.
Yeah, you got to think they've been doing a lot of this without Grayson O'Bara as well.
Yeah, he suited up. He was warming up before last week's game, but did not get a snap. So that was one of the storylines. He should be able to go this week, but probably be another game time decision. Jace Wilson, Grayson, is really starting to get more comfortable in his role. Kind of converted from basketball. He took a year off last year in football, and he's really starting to look more comfortable in that offense. And he and Eli, along with Brody Noble, have got some chemistry that they're starting to work in to that offense.
Yeah, and of course, like I just mentioned, the Geyer defense, of course, had a great showing as well in that regional victory against Abilene. They had 2 interceptions on the game, which, I mean, without Deuce Harmon at this point, just becomes more oppressive, in my opinion, how that secondary has been able to hold up for the Wildcats so strong. And they allowed just 137 passing yards through the air on 9 completions. They really shut down the Eagles' passing game in that one. It made Abilene really hard to keep up with Geyer's offensive attack.
Yeah, we are going to talk defense in detail tonight. We've got the defensive coordinators on here a little bit later, so you want to stay tuned to that. Defensive coordinator Reed Heim will be joining us here in a few minutes, along with defensive coordinator from the Ryan Raiders, Shane Tolleson. So, Geyer fans, I know some of you are out there, Ryan Raider fans and Dinko Gridiron fans, make sure you share the stream out as well, because this should be a good one.
Yeah, so, 2 weeks ago, like we said, Geyer takes down Abilene in the regionals, 38-21. Big games on both sides of the ball for them. So they move on to the quarterfinals, and this was this past weekend against the Prosper Eagles, an in-district rival at that, John. It's crazy how these two teams somehow managed to meet again here in the postseason, this deep at that in the quarterfinals. And man, what a showing. It turned into a triple overtime thriller at that.
Yeah, hey, shout out to Kayla Keese. Coaches' wives are what make Texas high school football coaches really run. So Kayla Keese, been a big fan of the show since day one. So thanks, Kayla, for tuning in. If your husband, Kyle Keese, is on there, let us know as well.
So Geyer walks in quarterfinals against a familiar opponent, the Prosper Eagles, and they get the victory again, this time a lot closer. Like I said, turns into a triple overtime, just barn burner of a game. But Geyer ends up pulling it out by the skin of their teeth, honestly, 30-24, the final score in that one. Eli Stowers, like I said, the week before against Abilene, really showed off his arm for the first time in several weeks. Well, he went right back to dominating on the ground there against Prosper. Only had 1 passing touchdown against the Eagles, but he ended up having 80 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns on the game, being the leading rusher for Geyer in that one.
Yeah, was having a little tough day through the air. Couldn't quite find it. A couple interceptions early.
You gotta credit Prosper a little bit for that, because Geyer's a familiar opponent to them as well, and that Eagles defense has been very stingy all season with a lot of really good opponents. So I'm sure that Geyer and their coaching staff, they knew that Prosper was going to come in with probably a more solid game plan than the first time they faced off in the regular season, which was also a fairly close game to my knowledge right off the bat, John. So not surprised that this turned into as close of a game as it was. Maybe I didn't expect it to go to triple overtime, but credit to Prosper for knowing what they needed to do to try and slow down Geyer a little bit. But the Wildcats are so dominant on the ground.
Yeah, it's hard to beat a team twice in one season, and the way they did it, during the regular season in district play, Geyer never held the lead. And the very last play of the game, Eli Stowers does, I believe, a naked bootleg to win it right as time expired in regulation. So very special. Jace Wilson had 3 catches, 57 yards, and 1 touchdown as well in that win. But the defense, big story. They had 2 interceptions as well.
Both of them in the first half as well. I believe actually both were in the second quarter.
And they were in the end zone. Prosper had the ball in the red zone, I think within the 10-yard line. And we'll confirm this with Coach Heim, but
they were both
like 4 times and came up scoreless.
Yeah,
four different times.
The first interception came right at the beginning of the second quarter, and the Eagles were going on a 6-play, 62-yard drive, killed almost 8 minutes, or there was about 8 minutes left on the clock at that point when they threw the interception. So that was a pretty good drive going for Prosper. And then later on, the second interception they threw was on an 11-play drive. So the Eagles were really driving on that Geyer defense, and then the Wildcats just ended up making 2 really awesome plays there in the first half, causing 2 turnovers. And in a close game like that, I mean, they obviously were just huge key factors, especially just being in the first half like that, keeping Prosper at bay, they were trying to do their best to drive on those Wildcats. And man, their secondary, especially in their defense, it's just with all the injuries they've had and all the adjustments that they've had to make, glad we're getting to talk to their defense coordinator today, because this has been so
I think now might be as a good time as any. Just bring him on. I mean, we're talking defense. If you guys are ready, we're going to try to connect with defensive coordinator Reed Heim. Let's see if we can bring him up right now. Coach Heim.
Hey, Grayson. Hey, John. How are y'all this evening?
Man, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for being on the show.
We were going to hold off for a little bit and talk a little Ryan, but, man, we got into that defense, and I could see you were chomping at the bit to emphasize what we've been talking about. Man, your defense has been playing lights out. And, when the offense has sputtered a little bit there for the Geyer Wildcats, the defense has come up big. What can you say about the effort that your Geyer defense has been able to put out there on the field?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it really is. It's about effort. At this time of year, with as few teams that are left playing, I think total 16 teams in the state, 4 in our division, everybody's good. Everybody's there for a reason. And, you're looking for any type of edge that you can get. And I think that, it goes back to the tradition and the sense of pride that our guys take, and effort's a big part of that piece. And so I think one of the main things that we emphasized last week that really came through us was play hard. And our guys did that. They answered the call, and really proud of them. Really kudos to our guys. They've really done a great job this year.
Coach, when there's a new head coach and, new coordinators and stuff coming into the program, the way that Rodney Webb and you guys did this year. And, there's always that adjustment period for everybody, for coaches and players alike at the beginning of the season. But Geyer has honestly overall handled it beautifully. What can you say about Coach Webb and your coaching staff as a whole, and how you guys have handled these unique circumstances of 2020, everybody dealing with COVID throughout the year and making those adjustments as well as, just being so new to this Geyer program and still finding success and somehow getting to this point. You're now in the semifinals, deep in the postseason.
Well, I'm sure excited to be there. And the thing about it is really, you covered a lot of it. I mean, it's been such a unique year. The pandemic's affected so many of our guys in so many different ways. We've had guys that have dealt with it, have had it, and we've overcome that. And then you have a staff it's a new staff. There are a lot of guys that were holdovers from the previous staff. Coach Webb brought in a couple of new guys, including me and a few other guys. So just with all of those different things together, I really want to, give lots of thanks to the staff. Everybody's been open. Everybody's been, what can we do? How are we going to get our guys to not only be able to play well, but how can we be there for them, and how can we continue to grow as a team in this type of environment? And it's really been fun to be a part of, because, it goes back to, we're coaches, but we coach guys that are 16, 17, 18 years old. And man, they've been going through a lot, and to be able to band together and to get as far as we have really goes to goes to say a lot about Coach Webb and our staff that's there and our guys. So I'm really enjoying it. It's been a ton of fun.
Coach, you got a little bit of that, 11 o'clock shadow going there. Any superstition about shaving before the next game?
No, I need to shave. I told you before you came on, I need to shave. But, no, I'm not. This may be more of a testament of trying to figure out how to stop Cedar Hill's quarterback than anything. So he's good. So just – no, I don't have the no shave. We have a couple of our guys, whether it's trying to grow, a 17-year-old mustache. Some of our guys are doing that, or maybe growing their hair out. But for the most part, no. I mean, the more you get caught up into superstition, then
Coach Webb doesn't have any clean shave policy or anything.
No, thankfully not. Thankfully not, or I'd be in trouble.
Well, we'll get into that Cedar Hill quarterback here in a sec. But Coach, another question I wanted to ask is, you lost your defensive star, Deuce Harmon, several weeks ago at this point. And I know that you've had other substitution type of problem and some injury problems that you've had to deal with on that defensive side of the ball specifically this year. And, we were talking to Coach Webb before the show, and he really credited that part of your game planning this year and how well you've been able to handle that next man up mentality with the defensive side of the ball. Talk to me about how the players have handled that and how they've handled, their star going down and seeing other guys go down, but still, remaining mentally strong and seeing that next man up take place so well.
Well, we're fortunate to have some really good football players. Not a lot of the teams that get this far in the playoffs. It really goes back down to, how do you stay healthy and can you get guys into the next game? So when you have a guy like Deuce go down, it really opens the door for some other guys to step up and their coaches to get them ready to play. So you have young guys like Peyton Bowen and Ryan Yates. Those guys are both sophomores, and Coach Gilson and Coach Williams have done a great job getting those guys ready and maybe taking a little extra time to make sure they know exactly what they're supposed to do and when to do it, and they've stepped up. So, and that goes back to the fabric of the program. They know when they sign up to play at Geyer that there's an expectation to be successful, and hey, when it's your turn, it's your turn. And if we're going to do what we want to do and what we're capable of doing, everybody's got to step up. Staff, young guys, old guys, veterans. That's the only way that you can win a state championship.
Coach, last year you were on staff with Colorado. So what's the transition been like going from the college game down to Texas 6A high school football?
I think every level. I mean, at the end of the day, it's football, and then at every level, there's just different things about it. And fortunate, I grew up in Dallas and played for a really good high school program back in the '90s. In fact, this is the semifinal. So 25 years ago, I played in the state semifinal game. So it's pretty exciting. It just feels like it was just yesterday, and I can't believe it's 25 years. So I have experience of coaching high school ball. I coached a couple of years at Jesuit and also a year at Richardson High School, and along with multiple stops at some Division I schools and some Division III schools. So I've kind of seen it all. But I'll tell you one thing. The one thing about coaching high school kids is that, man, when you can get them to buy in and to play hard, man, there's nothing like it. There really isn't anything like it to see the excitement that they have, the pride that they take. It's fun. And that's not, you can't get that anywhere else than on a Friday night in Texas.
Yeah, Coach, Geyer's coming off that crazy triple overtime win against Prosper, obviously, in these quarterfinals. And you talk about excitement, you talk about fun. I mean, there's just nothing like it when you're in that kind of atmosphere, in the Texas high school football playoffs. And I just want to know, what was that atmosphere like for you during, the first overtime, and then gets into the second and then the third? And, what were you telling your guys during those key moments? I mean, I'm sure they're exhausted at that point, and with every play mattering like that, what was that like? And what were you telling your players during those moments?
Play hard. Play hard.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
it's true though.
It's there isn't. I mean, we're gonna put a game plan together. We're gonna make calls to try to put us in this position to be successful. But I mean, when you at the end of one overtime, two overtimes, and in the third, I mean, you are scratching and clawing to get out of that. And even in that, it was a battle the whole game. It was 3-3 at half. It's 10-10 at the end of regulation. It was a struggle from the get-go, and our guys battled, and you just got to keep going to the well. And eventually somebody's going to win the game. And we rose to the occasion, and man, Cooper Lands is a stud. I mean, he blocked that kick and put us in a position to go win the game. And it's awesome to be a part of. It really is. I'm really proud of our guys.
Yeah, Coach, the Twitter blew up that video. I think even Baylor shared it out where he just blew up, I think, the offensive guard, ran right through the offensive guard, pancaked him backwards, blocked that kick. But, we thought about inviting a couple defensive players on, but, we couldn't have all 11 on, right? I mean, you mentioned guys like Cooper Lands, Dotun, Alani Pakun is back in your lineup, Rowan Briggs, Blaine Smith, Carson Parham stepped up, Jackson Foster. I mean, Marquand Pope, you got them just on and on. Next man up. I know Grayson mentioned, you lost a couple guys, but you've got a stable of talented players there that you can just call their number and they're going to do a job for you.
Man, and that's, like you said, they still got to do it, and they do week in and week out. And we've been very fortunate to have those guys and for those guys to take it upon themselves to, like you mentioned, Carson Parham, and I think he did a great job. Brooks Etheridge is a really good football player. Braden Vallejo is a good player. He goes down, then Brooks Etheridge goes down, so we have to stick Carson, who's been running, has been playing some, but he goes over to a different position, and he's got 1 week, and he's having to play and practice 2 different positions, and he really did a great job, took it upon himself. I mean, we had a couple extra meetings, and sends me a text here and there, like, hey, what about this? What about that? And am I doing this right? And did an awesome job. Really, really proud of him, along with so many of those other guys. Like Marquand's been when Jordan Eubanks went down in the first Prosper game. We moved him to that third safety look, and he did a great job. And then it's been great to get Jordan back healthy. He's a really good football player. And you guys got a guy like Jaden Powell, who's stepped up, been a guy, utility guy, do this, do that. A guy like Logan McDurran, who didn't play really at all in the first 8 or 9 games, and we've really been able to use him in our dime package. He's done a great job. And you got guys like Jaden Fugit, who's played a ton of football for a long time, and Darius Goodlow. I mean, you could just go on and on, name those guys, and you could pick not maybe all their names every single game, but throughout the playoffs and the back half of the season, there's going to be a player or two that you can point to in the game, and you could pick out just about every one of our players on defense. They've stepped up in some way and made a big play to help us pull out a win.
Coach Heim, Coach Gallegos is on here. He said Heim time is what he's saying here. So brings a little smile to your face. I know, hey, first year, it seems like you've really blended in well with that coaching staff as well, the guys that have been there for a while.
And it's an awesome staff. I think that's it, that at every place you go to, and I've been a lot of them, is that you look for a chemistry on the staff, because you're going to be in the office for hours upon hours, and you're going to watch a ton of film, and you're going to, not every conversation is going to be a great one. There's going to be tough ones. You may disagree with a guy. You might have a heated argument on the sideline. I mean, that happens through every staff. And the great thing about it is that they're all competitors. They all work really, really hard. They help put together. I mean, it's a team deal. I might say, here's kind of what I'm thinking, but I lean on our staff, like Zane Gilson and Gallegos and Willie Williams and Rick Wesson and Kyle Keese and Tim Eason. Man, I tell you what, for a guy that was at one place and then gets here to be a coordinator, and I'm blessed to have such a great staff, along with the offensive guys, but what a great defensive staff to see my vision, to be able to execute that, and to, really it's a lunch pail group. We come in, we work hard, and our guys react to that, and they end up playing great. So it's a testament to them. So I couldn't be in a better place.
Coach, we want to thank you again for coming on the show today, but I know your focus is now all about this matchup against Cedar Hill come, just a couple of days from now. And, I feel like this Geyer defense, like you said, I mean, it's just amazing how y'all have stepped up in this postseason. You've really, I feel like, stolen the show from Eli Stowers and that talented offense. And now you've got quite an uphill battle here against you with the Cedar Hill Longhorns, and, led by that crazy Tennessee commit at quarterback. What's your team been working on to prepare for this matchup against that unit? And what are some of the keys for your players on defense to try and slow those guys down at Cedar Hill?
Well, they got a lot of options. It's not just the quarterback. they've got, 3 or 4 guys. They had an injury to the tailback. They got 3 or 4 guys that have stepped up for them at the tailback position. They got a tight end that they use some. Sometimes they get into to no backs and 5 wide receivers. I mean, to me, it's they're pretty versatile. They do a lot of different things. So it really is trying to put ourselves in a position to get the best matchup. And, because we don't really know exactly what they're going to be in or exactly what they're going to do, but try to give yourself a chance to match up well and play hard and try not to give up the big play. I mean, they are a team that is incredibly explosive. You're just not going to face many quarterbacks in high school that can launch consecutive balls 65 plus yards. I mean, that's pretty impressive. And not only that, he's extremely elusive when he runs the ball. So, I mean, it really, the thing about a player like that is that the ball touches his hands every single time. So everything goes through him. He deals it out and he's really, really good. So, whatever we can do to try to stop him, that's going to be one of the things that we focus on and try not to give up the big play. And if we can survive that, I mean, they're going to make plays. They're good. They're going to make some plays, but that's happened to us before and we've come out ahead. So we just got to do our thing. Everybody's got to do their job and play hard, and we'll give ourselves a chance to be successful.
Coach, you probably heard about that miracle at AT&T Stadium last year, the comeback Geyer versus Cedar Hill. Have you had a chance to watch any of that on film, or is that just a year removed? You're not really focused on that at all?
Oh, no, I watched it. I sat up, I think it was Sunday night. I grabbed the iPad. I'm doing this, and I buzzed through it, and it was an incredible game. I just buzzed through the whole thing, not just what they did offensively, and that was a wild one. But that's playoff football in Texas. There's going to be some wild games like that. They had a ton of momentum, and were able to do some things offensively, and then the second half, and with all the onside kicks and defense and making some plays and keeping their offense off the field, they gave themselves a chance to win, and that goes back onto a testament to the fabric of the program. Just they have a will to win.
Coach, we want to thank you so much again for coming on the show and, I mean, just giving us some awesome content. You guys have been playing lights out on the defensive side of the ball. And, one other thing that before we let you go that Coach Webb mentioned to us is, you're a real spark for those guys. You really like to hype up your players and, really get in their face and bring that energy. Is that something you've always been as a coach? Or did you kind of just feel like that role sort of need to be filled and you've sort of stepped up that year with these guys with that?
I think it's always kind of been who I am. I think there are certain places you've been that's you have a place to where you can grow and you can do that. Sometimes whether it has your role or not, at times if there's a place for that and your kids buy into, it's one of those things where you walk that line. It can't be corny and hokey, but it can be fun. And I genuinely care about our guys, and so I think that they know that the place that I'm coming from on that is, at the end of the day, it's about them. And so, hey, let's, whatever it takes. If they're excited and they're having fun, there's nothing better to be a part of a locker room with 100 kids that are unbelievably excited and having a blast. It keeps me young, keeps me invigorated, keeps me working hard. So, I enjoy it, and it's fun to be around them.
Well, Coach, I can't let you go without asking one final question. And the advantage of doing live TV like we're doing right now is, can I get you? I know when you take the practice field, there's something that you say you kind of start practice with. Can we hear that? A lot of the fans don't know about this, but can you leave us with that?
I can. A couple things. So I'll always start with what a day. And first of all, I can't believe we're playing in football in January, but what I always say, just to kind of get them going, they react to it as I go, yeah. And they all
yeah.
beat it. And it's funny, I did it at one other place, but it didn't have the same didn't quite have the same sticking power, but our kids have enjoyed it. It's fun. But I've done it since the summer. And I told them when I first got hired, it's like, the deal is that this is who I am. You're going to get it every day. Like, I'm going to coach you hard. I'm going to coach you tough. I'm going to love, when you're successful. I'm going to be angry when you're not doing the right thing, but you're going to get the same thing from me every day. So I do it every day. So that's just, and they like it. So I'll probably keep doing it.
Well, that's good stuff. Hey, Coach Heim, feel free to stick around. Another guy that brings as much or more energy as well on the other side of town, Denton Ryan, Shane Tolleson is going to be joining us later. Have you had a chance to meet Coach Tolleson?
I haven't. He does an unbelievable job. He's done a great.
So Denton ISD's glad to have you both. So, man, hey, everybody. Reed Heim, defensive coordinator, the Geyer Wildcats, and thanks for joining us tonight. I know you probably got to get back into your iPad and start preparing even further for the Cedar Hill Longhorns.
Well, thank y'all both for having me. It's been great, and we appreciate all the fans that come out to the games, that tune in, and stay on top of what's going on at Geyer football. It's been a great season, and going to continue on Saturday and hopefully continue after that. But thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right, hey, have a great night. Take care, man.
Thanks
good stuff right there. What do you think, Grayson?
That was fantastic. Reed Heim, defensive coordinator of the Geyer Wildcats. This is his first season with the team. We hope the first of many incredible years. So, they've just been playing.
It's hard to believe we only have two teams to talk about, and this is going to be like an action-packed show, man. It's like, wow, it's already taken the air out of us a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. So why don't we go ahead and, keep them moving right along. Let's get on to this other team on the other side of town here in 5.
Yeah. This reset thing's real quick with just a shout out to another one of our supporters, Bud Bartley Homes. Everybody grab a drink and we'll reset, and then we're gonna wrap up with the Ryan Raiders, and we'll have defensive coordinator Shane Tolleson on in just a few minutes. BudBartleyHomes.com is one of the area's finest home builders, locally owned and operated for over 30 years. 3 new neighborhoods to choose from: Sunset Point, a 1/3 to half-acre Lakeview lots, only a 3 to 4 minute walk to Lake Grapevine's Twin Coves Marina. Watch the Gaylord Texans summertime fireworks show from your brand new home. Low-maintenance single-story homes in Highland Village from the upper 400s, and 2-acre lots are available in Copper Canyon. BudBartleyHomes.com, they can build on your lot or theirs. Bud Bartley Homes has built homes for many of the area's top realtors and other industry professionals. We are confident the team at Bud Bartley will exceed your expectations. Take it from me, John Piper. They built my home over 15 years ago. The excitement is building at BudBartleyHomes.com.
Jump into the Ryan Raiders here. Just want to make sure everybody knows, we kind of mentioned it there in our interview with Reed Heim, but the Geyer Wildcats will be taking on the Cedar Hill Longhorns. That's going to be a Saturday game. So that'll be kicking off this Saturday, 1:00 p.m. is when that'll get started over at that fantastic.
Back at McKinney ISD Stadium. Nice stadium. Venue. Great venue.
It's going to be an unbelievable game. Like we said, that Wildcats defense has been insane. The Geyer run game has been so dominant, and they've certainly got their hands full with the talented group of the Cedar Hill Longhorns. So make sure you guys check out that matchup. Saturday kickoff, 1:00 p.m., Geyer versus Cedar Hill. Now let's go ahead and kick it on over to 5A, John, with these Ryan Raiders. So the Ryan Raiders, as we mentioned, the last time we were on the air was 2 weeks ago. We were going into their regional matchup against the Longview Lobos, the 5A D1 regionals. They come out on top in that matchup 2 weeks ago, 27-9, the final score there. Seth Hennigan, star of the show, 284 yards through the air, 21 of 30 for 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jatavian Sanders had 7 catches for 115 yards and 2 scores. Keegan Cunningham actually had a bit of a breakout game for him, 5 catches, 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. Billy Bowman did his thing on both sides of the ball as well. And of course, that Ryan Raiders defense basically shutting down Longview. They allowed just 122 yards of total offense, just 82 through the air, 40 on the ground. They allowed just 1.2 yards per carry on 32 rushing attempts from Longview, John. And the Lobos had just 5 total receptions on the game for less than 5 yards per pass. Ryan completely dominated on defense. So the Raiders come out on top 2 weeks ago in the regionals, 27-9 over Longview. Then this was the big one, John. They go last
Highland
Friday.
Park.
They finally take on the Scots again. This has really been, sort of, we talked about Argyle with Waco La Vega and how Waco La Vega sort of set down.
A thorn in the side of the Ryan Raiders. Yeah.
So this is kind of what Highland Park has been for Ryan over there in 5A. It seems like the Scots have always just found a way to get past the Raiders when it matters most, but not this year. This year, Ryan took care of business in the quarterfinals against Highland Park. It was a close, cold, dark defensive game, John, over at Globe Life Park. 17-7, the final score in that one. Seth Hennigan had 2 touchdowns through the air. One to Billy Bowman Jr., who had over 130 yards receiving. And Jatavian Sanders also had 5 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown, and actually made the SportsCenter top 10, John, with an insane one-handed grab.
Yeah, I believe we might have that clip.
Yeah,
We'll share.
go ahead?
Yeah, let's see if we can bring up that clip right now. It's the second time he's done it this year, which is amazing.
He did it once during the regular season and somehow pulls it off in the quarterfinals against Highland Park. Insane.
And we'll ask Tolleson, too. Wonder, when they talk about an outfielder putting 2 hands on the ball, wonder if Hennigan or even Tolleson tell Sanders, hey, put 2 hands on it.
I don't know.
What do you think?
When you're making plays like this, which hopefully we'll show you in a second, I mean, you can't really argue with it.
Yeah, I've got that clip right here.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and check that out?
And here you go.
Last 8,000 yards for his career last week in a win over Longview. Highland Park showing blitz. Hennigan throwing a fade route for Sanders, leaps up, makes a one-handed catch. Oh my, what a start to this one. Jatavian Sanders, 6'5", 220, went up like a ball hawk and brought that down with one hand.
Well, Reagan, you said he leaped. To be honest, I don't know that he left the ground. He's just so much taller than everyone else. He reached up with one hand, kind of like you do with your little cousin when you're playing keep away from him. Made the
Highland Park showing blitz.
Wow. Like your little cousin when you're playing keep away. Hey, that was courtesy of the NFHS Network. Thank you so much for that clip. That was phenomenal.
Shout out to Reagan Radcliffe, the play-by-play guy,
Yeah.
a buddy of mine who I've called a couple of games with. So, great broadcast by them of that game. And obviously just an unbelievable play by Jatavian Sanders. It went completely viral, John. ESPN and SportsCenter were posting it all over Twitter and social media. Everybody got to see the Denton Ryan Raiders that night. And, I mean, well-deserved. He's obviously been a beast on both sides of the ball, but really been shining at wide receiver especially.
And I think now it might be a good time to bring up Coach Tolleson. What do you think?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead?
See if we can bring him on through the miracle of technology and see if we can bring him up. It's getting, and I think he deserves a little intro music as well.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and give it to him?
Oh, yeah, that's that defensive music. Yeah. Coach Tolleson. Man, what an intro.
Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, Grayson, I appreciate that. John, I appreciate that. Coach,
Ryan's defense obviously had you've had 2 great showings in a row. I mentioned against Longview, you guys almost completely shut them down on the defensive side of the ball. They just couldn't get anything going against y'all in the regionals. And then you play such an electric team that you've got such a deep history with in Highland Park. And, of course, y'all do a great job of shutting them down again. The Raiders had an interception in that matchup against the Scots. Just 229 yards of offense from Highland Park, which is very impressive considering how elite they've been in just recent years. And, what can you say about your players and your defensive side of the ball, and especially how they've stepped up, it seems, in this postseason? They're playing better than they ever have been this year.
Yeah, it's I tell them all the time, I'm the car, they're the driver. They've got the keys to this thing. I'm enjoying it. I get a lot of pats on the back, undeserving though, because those kids are playing lights out right now and they're having fun coming to work every day. Like Coach Heim said, I'm surrounded by great coaches. I think I have 3 ex-head coaches, but they're all head coaches of their position. And I can't take much credit when I look out there and you got a guy like Jatavian catching those touchdowns and Seth Hennigan, man, making those chains moving. The best defense is when that referee is saying first down, clock ticking, first down, clock ticking. So I appreciate the praise, but I tell you what, I'm surrounded by really good coaches and unbelievable kids that love to come to practice every single day and just, and freaking just go to work and empty their bucket. And I'll say this, I don't think the best has been seen by this defense. I see them every day, and I think the best is yet to come.
Well, Coach, you're blessed to have, and you always have, Ryan's been known for a lot of their two-way players, a lot of great athletes, 2 that come to mind this season, and they both played both ways last season as well, Jatavian Sanders and Billy Bowman Jr. What's it like having athletes like that to play on the defensive side? Now, I do have to ask you, does Coach Hennigan limit the number of snaps they get on the defensive side?
No, we just kind of play it as the game goes, key situations. That's one thing that I think, Dave Hennigan does an unbelievable job being the play caller on offense. We butt heads sometimes when it comes to players, but, he gives me everything I need to be successful. There's never a game where I go in not thinking I have all the bullets in the gun. He does an unbelievable job how he organizes our practice so those guys see the things they need to see on both sides of the ball. And I feel like it's worked for us. It's not what you want to go into a game and have a guy playing both sides of the ball. We always say, though, the elite guys can do it. Not to take anything away from those other guys, but when you got guys like that are special, that can change a game on both sides of the ball and even in special teams, you got to find a way. You got to find a way to make sure those guys are on the field at some point. Because sometimes just by being on the field draws attention away from other guys that can make plays.
Coach, you're now going into your 8th season, as you mentioned to us before we started the show with these Ryan Raiders, and I know that you've been in some of these past situations with Highland Park, in recent years, and seen that history firsthand with them. What was the mindset going into this year against that team when you guys were preparing for them? Especially the week before. What was the message that you were sending to your players? Considering that it seems like you guys just seem to butt head with Highland Park more often than not.
Well, everybody kind of on the outside makes that bigger than we do on the inside. That's just a game that we had to win or lose in those years. This year was no different. It's just the next game. And I don't want to put that pressure because the 2016, 17, and 18 defense, they didn't play this 2020 Highland Park. So we're a different team. Highland Park's a different team, and those teams lost to Highland Park. And I kept telling my kids all week, we haven't lost to them. You guys have never lost to Highland Park. And if we play to our standard, that's here at Ryan, that's why you come here. If we play to our standard, I think we're going to be on top at the end of when that horn goes off.
And let me ask you this. So, you guys are obviously in great position right now. You're sitting in the semifinals. You've got just a couple of games away from winning the whole thing. And I know it's always just 1 week at a time, and you try not to look too far ahead of those types of things. But when did you know personally, just considering how long you've been with this program, that this team could be the team? This team could go undefeated. This team could do the whole darn thing. When did you know? Was this like a preseason thing? You're like, man, we've got the talent, we've got everything, or did it take you a couple of weeks to realize that these kids are on another level this year?
No, the seniors on this team, Ty Marsh, DJ Arkansas, Jay Shepard, Jatavian, Billy Bowman, all those guys that are pretty much taking this thing by the horn. And I think when you have a great senior leadership on, either side of the ball, but on defense side of the ball, and you got guys that are taking ownership, extreme ownership, calling guys out in a respectful way. But, this is, hopefully if I'll have a job next year. I'll come back to Ryan if they'll have me, but these seniors don't get another chance. This is it for them. And don't leave that door with a guy not halfway in the boat, and I felt like those guys that are seniors, they're raising the bar, and either you meet the bar or we get the next man on the field. And I think those guys, especially DJ Arkansas right now, having, dinners at his house, calling people over. When you do that and you bring each other together, I think that raises things as good as a coach, because sometimes I tweeted out something not too long ago that we ran out of time to condition, and I know we're week 15, but we're still going to run, be conditioned. And we ran out of time one day, and I looked on the turf field, and I had, DJ and those guys calling all of our defensive up to make sure they finish what they had to do. That's when you know that you have a special group.
I love to hear that. Because, you just don't get – I feel like you don't get players like that, especially at the high school level, who are willing to call out those guys, like you said, in a respectful way. There's always that fence you don't quite push, but you gotta push some dudes every now and again, because, it's not always just every single guy gives it 110%. But to hear that the seniors have been performing that way all year, I do love to hear that. That really is that's really got to be just a total game changer.
Well, Coach, I was in the back of the end zone last year, and I know you're tired of hearing about it. I was standing literally right next to Coach Flo during that last play that came so very close to as Drew Sanders had a chance to catch that ball at the very end. And I know that was your mission, the Sons of Ryan's mission this year, to just get back there and have a chance to compete. And boy, have you done that and then some. What's it meant to your team not only to get over Highland Park, because that's just one victory, but to be in a position, state semifinals. I'm a big fan of defense wins championships. I know Coach Heim probably believes that as well, but to be back in this position again, it's almost expected at Ryan.
It is. It's a standard. And, when I came the first time to, work for Joey Florence and coming to work for him, and it's a different place. It's a special place, and it's not like anywhere else. Starting with Vernon Reeves, our principal, and Joey, and make no mistake about it, I'm standing on the shoulders of Joey Florence and David Thomas coming to this program, and I know what's expected, and I think Dave Hennigan has done an unbelievable job coming in and carrying that on and holding us coaches to a high standard, and our kids the same. But our kids expect to win. They really do. And we hold them to a high standard. But I think, like I said before, when you got that group of kids that are, your vision is now becoming their vision, and the picture you're trying to paint defensively, and those seniors grab that paintbrush and they're starting to paint the same picture as you, and man, it gives you chills. It makes you want to come out of your skin, and it's just fun to watch. I'm just on the sideline getting to watch this like you guys. I promise you, they're a fun group.
Coach, Coach Heim kind of brought up how, as much as you want to credit the stars of your defense or the stars of your unit, and, we could talk about Jatavian Sanders and Billy Bowman all day. I feel like it definitely relates for both the Ryan Raiders and the Geyer Wildcats. That depth on the defensive side of the ball has been huge for you guys this year. And, it just seems like whoever's in there, next man up, it's just got so much consistency across the board. You guys just don't seem to miss a beat, no matter who's out there on the field. Do you feel like that's also been a bit of a key factor for you guys defensively this season as well?
Absolutely. I don't know so much about the depth guys, but we do have guys that move around in certain positions that they know if they're on that field that they have to. We have a thing called hold the rope. And no matter how freaking hot that thing gets and how much it burns, you got to hold it for that guy next to you, truly be a servant of the game. And I think that has been a key thing for us this year, the standard's high. You got to play great defense. Joey Florence and Dave Hennigan tells me all the time, if you don't play great defense, I'm still going to love you. I'm just going to love you at a different location. So,
well, hey, Coach, that's a good segue. You mentioned Coach Flo. You've been at Ryan now 8 seasons. Your very first year, you come in as a linebacker coach under Coach Florence. So you had some of his tutelage. And then you've been with Dave Hennigan, obviously, for the last 7 years. I'm going to put you on the spot. Now, what are some of the unique, stark differences between Coach Florence's style and head coach Dave Hennigan?
Well, dadgum. I put the for sale sign in my yard. I think Joey is more like a Nick Saban, extremely tight. You kind of walk on eggshells a little bit around him. I'm not going to lie. It was tough my first year. First off, he didn't like me because I'm from Corsicana, and I was a college coach. So I had 2 strikes against me right there. He let me know that all the time, that he was going to send me back to Corsicana, where I come from. But he was unbelievable to work for. Learned a ton in a year with him, just seeing how he operates. Kids loved him. Dave Hennigan is more like a Riley at Oklahoma. He's laid back. He's really, really organized. You know what to expect when you come in. They're different in a lot of ways, but very, very similar. And I think Dave takes his job very, very seriously, and he understands the standard that's at Ryan as well.
Coach, I know you're obviously similar to Coach Heim. You're focused on this Friday night against Mansfield Summit. And, now you're back under the big lights again at AT&T Stadium. So what's going to be the key defensively for Ryan to keep this thing going, keep that undefeated streak alive, and get the W against a Jaguars team that's, although been playing some really close games in these last couple of playoff matchups for them, they've been finding ways to win. So, what do the Raiders need to do defensively?
Well, David Hopkins, the quarterback, number 7. He's got legs. He can run around. They got 2 really good running backs. Jaden Lott can run the football. Both running backs run really, really hard. They're huge in the O-line, and they got a guy going Auburn out wide that they throw it up to. My job is to get off the yard, get that ball in Seth's hands and our offense hands as much as I can, limit their opportunities, suffocate him when he's in the pocket, and bring hopefully one more they can block on the run. That's going to be our key coming in.
And Coach, let me ask you this as well. We asked Coach Heim about this, but you've also seen football at both levels, both college and high school. And obviously you've been in high school for a long time at this point, but what do you feel the biggest difference is there? And what is it about Texas high school football that you feel like just, is just so different from any other atmosphere?
I think the best coaches in the country are in Texas high school football. I'm not just saying that because I'm a high school coach now, but I'm telling you right now, when you can coach a freshman, all the way up through, what the word in means versus out, just from the very get-go, just the word teacher, I think some of the best coaches are at this level. Not already out of a cracker box college when you go out and recruit and handpick the guys you want and kind of come polished. The biggest difference is that. And I think that's the most rewarding too. I think you put in the same hours during the season. Obviously the difference is the recruiting part in the spring. But yeah, being with those kids from all the way from a freshman, seeing them just, I'm looking for diapers sometime out there. We're so young, and you see them grow up, man, and you blossom, and next thing you know, they got abs in their neck and their traps, you got Social Security numbers, and they're big and they're ready to go fight, and it's fun to watch those guys.
Well, Coach, I've seen firsthand your energy. I've been down on the field some with you, not as much this year due to the COVID, but some of your playoff runs. I've been down there. I've seen you in action, and just the raw emotion, the enthusiasm, the leadership you bring to the Ryan Raider defense is second to none. You mentioned you grew up in Corsicana. You started your playing career at Navarro, then you went to Arkansas State, where it was fate. I know you're a man of faith, where you met your wife Katie. Now she's a pretty good athlete herself, basketball player at Arkansas State, right?
Man, you've done some good Google research. She's not pretty good; she's really good, and she's way better than me.
Okay, well, you answered my next question. I was going to put you on the spot and say, hey, who's the best athlete in the house? And you answered it. So good move right there. You may not have to sell your house due to your wife, by the way.
Oh, my goodness.
There is no question who's the better athlete. I was an effort guy. I was a, run through a wall kind of guy. She's the one that's got the skills and go up and hoop. And I can't hoop. So there you go.
Well, Coach, I do want to ask you, there's a lot of, newspaper Steve's a fan of the show. He does a great job covering the Ryan Raiders for the Denton Record Chronicle. And he wrote a couple articles about the Bear. And a lot of the fans want to know, tell us a little bit about the Bear.
The Bears, coming in, kind of a unique situation. It's got an unbelievable story. And you don't really know that when you see him. You just see this big kid over there that you think just plays football. And then when he comes in your office and sits down and asks if he can get something to drink out of your refrigerator, and next thing you know, he just opens up. And boy, does he have a story. He has an unbelievable story. And hopefully I can become a part of that story and watch him grow as because a lot of people don't know he's only 17 years old. He looks 42. Okay. He's 17 years old, and he's got an unbelievable story behind him, but I just cannot wait to see what God has planned for him, not just at Ryan, but the next years on his life.
Well, Coach, I know you haven't met him in person yet, but I think we're going to introduce you virtually. Defensive coordinator for the Guyer Wildcats, Reed Heim, is still with us. If we can bring him up real quick. How you doing, Coach?
Good. Coach Tolleson, how are you this evening?
Great, Coach Heim. How about you?
I'm doing all right.
Man, you guys are, I haven't been around either one of you a lot, but you seem to be cut out of the same cloth a little bit.
I know. I was going to say, it's kind of weird that it seems like I didn't want to try to ask them the same exact questions, but, similar experiences. You both bring a lot of energy and a lot of expertise and a lot of the same success to your respective programs. It's almost kind of awing how crazy it is that Guyer and Ryan are still just in these similar positions. No other place in Texas has this honor right now. It's got to be great for the fans.
Hey, I will ask you, I know, Coach Florence, obviously responsible for all of Denton ISD athletics. And I know you guys had the liberty to play each other early in the year, so we weren't even going to ask about that. But, how was that matchup? That was great for the city, to get that Ryan-Geyer matchup going again. You guys want to talk a little bit about that? It was a tight game and went down to the wire.
You want to try to defend Jatavian and Billy Bowman and a head coach's son that's a Division I quarterback? Have fun with that.
Yeah, and Geyer was, and everybody's gonna have injuries. Geyer had a couple injuries earlier in the year, but hey, I think we can all agree Ryan flat out can play some football.
You're dang right they can.
And I'll say this too, that it was so fun about that game is the kids know each other on the other team. They play, whether it's youth football together, and they grow up together and they kind of know each other. That's what makes it fun. I think that should be a game all the time, just because what it does for this community. Geyer, they have our respect 100%. Coach Heim, I tell you what, man, just you coming in new, not having those relationships built in the summer, not having a spring to get your defense installed, I think you've done an unbelievable job.
Well, thanks, Coach. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed it, and it's just a testament to the kids in both communities. I mean, football is really, really important here, and there's nothing like it. And it's when you have the opportunity to be a part of it, it makes it special to be a coach.
I just want to know, are they going to ask us back if we don't take care of business next week?
Right. Exactly. Do I have to hold them to a certain amount of yards so I can come back on next year? Or?
Yeah.
I know, Coach Heim, you can't speak to this because it's your first year, but Tolleson, you can probably answer this. In the post or in the off season rather, does Coach Florence get a lot of the coordinators together and kind of share notes, or is that how things work at Denton ISD Athletics? Or y'all kind of armies as one?
Well, I ask Coach Florence a lot of questions, and he always tells me to coach defense and let him handle the administrative part.
Right.
So that's what I try to do.
He tells me the same thing. I guess he treats everybody the same because he I won't get into that. But
I tell you, he is a mentor of mine. He really is. I don't ever ask him questions in public. If I need something that I need an answer to, I'll call him, or ask him personally on a side note, because he'll let me know how much I don't know pretty quick.
Well, Coach Heim, any parting thoughts, man? This has been awesome. Appreciate y'all carving out time on a Wednesday night to join the Denko Gridiron Show. This is why we do it. It's about the community. We had a lot of people tuning in, and we'll put this out on the podcast as well, so people can listen to it while they're doing their morning jog tomorrow, or their bike ride, or their Peloton, or whatever they do. But any parting thoughts, Coach Heim, on upcoming game?
No, just thanks to y'all for covering us, and good luck to Den Ryan. And it's great for the community. That in a year that has had so many challenges for so many people, it's great to give something back and to be a part of that. So there's a lot of good football left to be played, and a lot of people in this area, in this community, get to be a part of it.
Coach Tolleson, you got the last word.
And I'll say this, no matter what happens on either program or wins or losses, man, these are still kids. And, there's a lot of pressure on them in this town, and the standard is high. And sometimes they do great things, and things like this, when you don't, reach the ultimate goal, which is to win a state championship, it goes unnoticed of all the stuff that they did do throughout their year. That's a full-time job to go to school and to meet the demand that we ask them to do, not only just football and academics, but to hold the rope in their community, hold the rope in the classroom. And we ask a lot of them, man. And for that to go unnoticed, if we don't win this thing all, that's a shame. And how it goes out, whatever, I think they still deserve an arm around the neck and tell them how much you love them.
Coach Tolleson, defensive coordinator, the Ryan Raiders. Coach Reed Heim, defensive coordinator, Geyer Wildcats, man. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
All right. Thank y'all.
Appreciate it. See y'all.
Man, what a action-packed show, Grayson.
Freaking love the energy that we brought to the show today with those two guys.
I'm ready to go out and hit somebody. Not really.
Tell me about it. I was like, we were just having a conversation with them, and especially the final words that I feel like both of them said there at the end. Huge amount of respect to the both of them. Well said, especially by Coach Tolleson. It's been an absolute honor to cover both of these teams all year, John. And I think that sometimes, just with the plays that these kids make and with the level that I feel like Texas does high school football at, we do forget sometimes that these are kids out here and, they're going to school every day and they're still living their lives and they're still thinking about college and the next step for whether they're playing at the next level or not. I feel like sometimes we do forget those things. And when you don't get to that ultimate goal, your season goes a little unnoticed. And I totally feel that from Coach Tolleson. So, well said by him. And I think that no matter what happens with both of these programs, they've had incredible runs here in 2020, despite the insane circumstances that both programs have had to deal with. Mad respect to Geyer and Ryan.
Man, what a great show. And Grayson, hey, Happy New Year to you. This is the first time I've seen you in the new year.
Happy New Year to all of our listeners as well. Thank you guys for sticking around with us. We'll probably give this thing another 2 weeks, and we may come back into the picture with possibly some state championship type of talk or something.
Yeah, that would be, a lot to still yet to be determined.
I know, a lot of football to still go. We don't know what's going to happen. We obviously wish the absolute best of luck to the Raiders and the Wildcats. They both got some really good games to be playing on Friday and Saturday, respectively. So remember that the Ryan Raiders will be playing on Friday. So, Ryan will have a Friday kickoff against Mansfield Summit, the Jaguars. That game will be at AT&T Stadium, and it's going to have a 7 p.m. kickoff, John. And then the Geyer Wildcats will be playing on Saturday with a 1 p.m. kickoff from McKinney ISD Stadium. So, whether you're going to the game or you're possibly listening on a respective network or what have you, you're definitely going to want to tune into both of these matchups. They're sure to be electric.
Well, that's going to do it for us. Thank you for being a part of this one. We'll see you next week.
From Fox 4, make sure to tune in to the Denko Gridiron Show.